And our next session tackles a critical question: how can the fintech industry adopt AI responsibly to ensure transparency, fairness, and accountability? So to explore this topic and how it can contribute to a more efficient and inclusive global digital economy, please welcome Mark Rydquist, Managing Director, EMEA Financial Services at Google Cloud. Hi, Mark. Welcome. What do you do in your role at Google?
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. It's a privilege to be in such a magnificent setting.
It is.
And be given a stage to talk for 15 minutes on this exciting topic. So in my role, I get to go all around Europe, Middle East and Africa, talking to financial institutions, so banks, both traditional or incumbent banks and neobanks, insurance companies, and capital markets companies about the impact of technology on all of their markets and their regions. So yeah, I run the business for Europe, Middle East and Africa at Google Cloud.
And when you talk about technology, is there right now, I mean, not that AI is anything new, but I guess the way that we're all using AI is changing quite quickly. Is there a particular focus on AI, or do you find it's much broader than that?
Look, I would say more, the discussions with the clients, the companies, is now in the boardroom, not just in the basement of technology, if you pardon the metaphor. So it's on the minds and the forefront of the minds of most of the people running these companies, which is all of these technologies are maturing and converging at such a rate that they're really disrupting at a time, at a pace that we haven't seen in the last 10 years. So whilst fintech's not new, digital disruption's not new, AI has really been the catalyst that's tipped it past a particular point.
And what was that catalyst? Was that Gen AI being launched 18 months ago that just got everyone thinking,
Completely.
oh my God?
Yeah.
And so, and what ways have you seen, what have your observations around Gen AI been in general, and then specifically with fintech?
Yeah, so I think first of all, OpenAI, of course, created all the publicity in November of 2022, I think it was. And we followed a few months later with our version called Bard. And then we launched what is now Gemini in February of 23. So it's really only been 18 months that companies have been trying to get their heads around, and society really has been trying to get its head around what does this sort of synthetic form of intelligence mean for the future of the world. And during that time, we saw a rush of companies to experiment with what does this thing mean? We should really all take a look at it. We should start to experiment with it. And they ran too quickly. Lots of science projects, didn't really ground it in good financial acumen, and then they pulled right back to say, right, beyond the hype, what's really real right now? And so where we see most companies, and there are always exceptions to this, is they're testing it for knowledge worker productivity augmentation.
Yeah.
That's really where we are.
Because it feels like there was a lot of lip service paid to Gen AI for about a year, and now it seemed to have settled, and now there seem to be a lot more real use cases where it's producing tangible results.
Yeah, I think the balance is, you know, the discussion about the future. The question is, how far away is that future, where really the world is going to be turned upside down, and what do we do now? And if you're not in the discussion now, testing, experimenting and trialing it, it's really hard to then be part of what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
See, so it's that constant balance of what's going to happen in the future, which is more of an instinctual assessment for leaders in business, versus what can we do now, which is more of an intellectual decision based on data, business cases and standard traditional business acumen that you make now.
Let me just ask you a question about the future. AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, which broadly describes AI systems that are better than the best humans at all cognitive tasks. I think Sam Altman has predicted that's going to arrive within Trump's second term, so by 2028. What do you think about that? When do you think that's going to be upon us?
Look, I mean, Google just recently made the announcement we're investing over 70 billion in capital investment in the next 12 months. That's just us. So when you look at the amount of money that's being put into the infrastructure to support the advancement of this synthetic form of intelligence, there will continue to be a debate about when there is a tipping point, when the level of intelligence surpasses that it does become AGI. Able to execute general tasks equal to or more productive than a human being. It's almost an inevitability we will get there. The question is how quickly. And nobody can really answer that question. There's a lot of speculation, but it's coming. That's for certain.
Yeah. And so is the fintech sector adapting to all of these changes well, in your opinion?
So, two answers to that. Again, there are always exceptions to the rules, but keep in mind, I go all around the world. I was doing a roundtable with the banks in Latin America 2 weeks ago. Then I was in Saudi Arabia doing... So I get to see banks and financial institutions all around the world. The traditional providers of financial services are really struggling culturally with what to do. The fintechs are moving at lightning pace. Now, I said there's always exceptions, but in the main, the discussions with incumbent finance is risk, regulation, compliance. With the fintechs, it's customer centricity, it's innovation, it's very different.
Yeah.
Now, I do think that is a cultural difference, but it is palpable. The difference is palpable.
When is that shift going to happen? Because the incumbents can't carry on like that.
And it's a frustration of mine, because I can tell you straight away when I go to a company whether the executive leadership team are tuned into the inevitability of disruption, or whether they're going to be left behind.
Yeah.
And it really depends on which way that the culture of that company has evolved. But keep in mind, to be sympathetic to what they're dealing with, they've had a history of being under significant burden of regulation, where the measures, incentives of the individuals in that company are all geared towards that. So I don't blame them for that, but the measures and incentives have got to push much more in the direction of customer centricity. Revolut's now growing at 300,000 net new customers per month.
And yet still in the UK...
Per week, that is, I think.
But yet still in the UK, the neobanks, the challenger banks, whatever we're going to call them, are making a dent with the incumbents. When is that going to...
I think we're past that tipping point, to be honest. If you look at
Revolut...
look at Revolut, I'm picking on them, but they're a very valued client of ours. They run the bank on Google Cloud. 14 million additional customers in the last year, and now 1.5 billion of pre-tax profit, doubling that which they did the previous year. What's my point? That's a signal. Yeah. They're innovating digitally to meet a client demand that is not served by the incumbents.
And what is that customer profile like, the new customers? Is it younger customers?
Yeah, I'll give you another example. Bank in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
Bank, a digital-first bank, went from... it's now got 14 million customers, but it went from about 1 billion of deposits to 9 billion of deposits in the last 12 months. And they have a license, they're applying for licenses to be, like Revolut, to bank internationally. Now they've got 700 employees, 700. So the cost-income ratio projections of the neobanks, the challenger banks, that think and are built culturally differently are just a different paradigm to that of the traditional incumbent banks, who are really trying to catch up. Or really trying to adapt, not catch up, but adapt.
What do those incumbents have to do to try and catch up? They can't really catch up. What do they have to try and do in terms of implementing technology? And is AI one of the critical ones they need to be implementing?
Again, there's always exceptions, but I can't stress enough that the culture of these organisations needs to change. And the measures, so it's a leadership issue, about setting a new culture where you are customer obsessed. Like 300,000 net new wins per week for a challenger bank that's less than 10 years old is sending a clear market signal. Yeah. And Google makes 5 products that are used by over 2 billion people per week, 15 products used by over 500 million people per week. We obsess about customer experience, about delivering the best digital experience across a number of products. And we continue to stress and urge that to incumbent financial providers to be very, very focused on aligning the culture and the incentives towards innovation to meet the client or the customer where they want to be.
But can you talk then through some ways in which using AI or Gen AI makes more transparent, fair and better experiences for fintech customers? Give us some specific examples.
Not just fintechs, but in general.
Yeah.
About responsible AI. Here's ways in which companies, the financial services companies are using AI for good. Today, if you're a high income and high net worth individual, your needs are met much more in a customized way by human interaction, one-to-one interaction, or one to few. The mass affluent are very underserved, and that's because the economics just don't work for many banks. So is there a world where AI and AI agents can provide tailored financial advice in a highly personalised way to a massive amount of the market that's underserved today by traditional finance? Yes, I do think. And we will see robo-advisors able to deliver very good, tailored personal advice being launched in the next 12 to 18 months. We're working on some experiments at the moment, and the prototypes are going very, very well.
And there's interest and take-up for something like that.
I'll tell you why, because money, I don't know if it's just a British thing, but it's a very personal thing. So a delicate topic like the discussion about money and tailoring your financial lifestyle, done with someone that, or something that really understands you but doesn't judge you. We've seen in the field trials that yes, this is a demand that people have.
Isn't there a suspicion about what giving all of that data away to, I don't know, one of these agents might mean in terms of risk?
Yeah, look, I think it's always a trade-off. We've been doing this for a long time as a species, is we give away our data in receipt for a service.
Yeah. But financial data is more sensitive.
It is, and the banks, in the first and foremost, have built a reputation of trust.
Yeah.
And so if they provide you with these services in the form of a synthetic form of intelligence, but it can give you highly personalised advice, and it's economical for them and very beneficial for you, we think that's a very good thing, and it democratises wealth. The number of people I know who don't have advice from the bank and are yet pining for that.
Wow.
So we do see a way. You asked for an example.
Yeah.
It's a very good example of how the mass affluent will be better served through AI in financial services than they are today. Good for them and good for the providers of the service.
Let me ask you something. As you're travelling around the world and having all of these conversations with all these providers, does anyone talk about wanting to deploy Gen AI in an ethical, responsible way? Does that come up much?
Oh, yeah. Every conversation is...
Is that how it starts? Did they lead with that, or is it more about wanting to use it initially?
I think no, because it's implied. Like it's when you're talking about financial services, particularly financial services, you can get it right 100 times, but you get it wrong once,
and you're done. Yeah.
And they know that, everybody knows that, and so trust is built over time, but lost in an instant. And you can't really have any ambiguity with the integrity of financial information. It has to be exactly right. And so I think it's just implied in everything that we do and we discuss with our clients is security, integrity of the data, confidentiality of the data, responsible use of the data. We do have discussions about it, but it's the base currency for us to do business with.
That's very reassuring. And Mark, I want to get your opinion on this. I'm just trying to find my notes here. I think it was OpenAI, this is going back a few months, they launched one of their newest AI agents, and Sam Altman said that agent took over 5% of all economic tasks. I'm not sure how he defined that.
Yeah.
And that just chimes into that theory that, knowledge work is going to go to zero. Where do you sit on all of that? I mean, I don't know what the timeline is for that. Some people say it's in the next few years. Where do you sit on that?
So I'd say that whilst we had the hype of, well, what is this thing, and everybody rushed towards it, and then pulled back to standard business rationale, we now see most of our clients using it for efficiency. But it's to do staff augmentation rather than headcount displacement. It's not real yet. There are exceptions, but we don't, in general, see AI replacing human capital within the banking system today. Not yet. Now,
that could change very quickly, though.
As we move into agents and the evolution of agents that can not just give me better answers, more intelligent answers, but can actually execute tasks in a trustworthy way. Yeah. I was with a bank this morning from Spain that by 2027, they're projecting that 30% of the knowledge worker tasks inside the bank will be displaced.
By 2027. Okay.
By 2027. And we have more and more companies coming to us to say, can you help me with my cost-income ratio, because I'd like to look at where knowledge work democratized through AI could displace entire functions. KYC, KYB, credit and lending, risk assessment, fin crime. We are seeing more and more of these cases where either human capital can be significantly enhanced or repurposed to more valuable work.
So what will we all do?
Well, look, I mean, let's think about how financial services are today. And in general, it's pretty awful. As a recipient...
As a service.
As a service.
As a service, yes.
Right. Am I able to have highly personalised financial advice where I need it, when I need it, and how I need it? No. And yet there are 5,000 financial institutions in Europe spending billions of dollars trying to be very good at that. But it's really underserving the market. And it really serves the high net worth individual very well, but for the rest of the market, it doesn't. So as a technology company, we believe that technology should democratize access to information, but also a promotion of the equality of wealth. So this will, whilst it will replace certain work, there is a huge opportunity to fill a void of necessity where we're still underserving what humanity needs from the financial services system. Give me better advice, tailored to me, help me improve my financial wealth, whether I'm this level of income bracket or this level of income bracket, not let's just make it something for the privileged few.
Yeah.
That will open up new jobs, new opportunities, for sure it will.
Great. Well, on that very positive note, we shall end it. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.